The wine glass slipped from Laura's fingers and shattered against the kitchen tile with a sharp crystalline crack that seemed to echo through the entire house. She stood frozen in the doorway to Jake's living room. Her face pale under the warm pendant light, eyes fixed on the left side of my face, on the thin white scar that curves along my cheekbone like a faint crescent moon. "You," she whispered, voice trembling so hard it barely carried. "It was you." Jake Harlan set his beer bottle down slowly, the clink of glass against wood unnaturally loud in the sudden silence. Sarah, his girlfriend, paused mid-reach for another slice of apple crisp. The couple from down the street exchanged uneasy glances. The air smelled of grilled steak rosemary and now the sharp tang of spilled Cabernet. I stood by the fireplace, hands empty, heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted out. I hadn't said a single wrong word to her all evening, hadn't touched her, hadn't even looked at her longer than polite. Yet her gaze was locked on my scar, white and wounded, as if she were seeing a ghost wearing my skin. Laura, Jake started, voice careful. She shook her head once sharp. "Don't." She took a step back, arms wrapping around herself like armor. I saw the photos, the bar, the scar, the same scar. You were the one he was meeting, the one he left me for. The words hit me like cold water. My mouth went dry. Photos bar, I had never been in a bar with Nathan Pierce. Never laughed with him outside the job site. He'd been a coworker, distant friendly enough until the night he called at midnight asking for a ride to the bus station. Jake looked between us, confused. "What photos? What are you talking about?" Laura ignored him. Her eyes never left mine. Nathan showed me once, said it was a work friend, a young guy with that exact scar smiling in dim light. I believed him. Until I found out about the other woman. Until I realized the work friend was probably the one covering for him. And now you're here, next door, fixing Jake's lights, smiling at me like you don't know what you did. I felt the room tilt. "Laura, I swear I never—" She cut me off with a small, bitter laugh. "Don't. Just don't." She turned abruptly and walked through the kitchen. The back door opened and closed softly. Final but not slamming. Not angry, just exhausted. I looked at Jake. He looked as stunned as I felt. "I'll go," I said quietly. No one stopped me. I grabbed my jacket from the couch arm and stepped outside. The November night was sharp wind carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant chimney smoke. Streetlights glowed orange on the pavement. I walked to my truck but couldn't get in yet. I sat on the tailgate, elbows on knees, staring at the house, warm light spilling from the windows, shadows moving inside like nothing had happened. Laura Ellis, 34, just divorced, no kids. Quiet house next door to Jake's. I'd seen her from afar for weeks. Gardening alone, reading on her deck, always a little apart from the neighborhood chatter. Beautiful in a way that hurt to look at too long. Sad in a way that made me want to fix something, anything. And now she thought I was the reason her marriage ended. The scar on my cheek bike accident when I was, say, 12 had become evidence in her mind. A blurry photo from years ago dim lighting a young guy laughing. She had connected dots that weren't there. I exhaled breath, fogging in the cold. I'd only known Nathan as a coworker who vanished after asking for a ride. Said he had a new job up north. I believed him. Dropped him at the bus station, never heard from him again. But to Laura, I was the other man. The one who helped him hide the affair. The one who smiled while her world fell apart. The real story started 3 weeks earlier. My name is Ethan Hayes, 27. Portland born and raised, except for 6 years in Sacramento that ended with my career in ruins. I'm an electrician now, residential service calls. Lights that flicker, outlets that spark, houses that go dark. People call me when something breaks. I show up, fix it, leave. Simple. Jake Harlan bought the old Craftsman in the West Hills. He called the day after closing. "Wiring's a nightmare," he said. "You free Saturday?" I pulled up with my van loaded. Jake met me at the door with coffee. "Welcome to the money pit," he said, grinning. "Start wherever." We tackled the kitchen outlets first, then the hallway ceiling fan that kept shorting. The house smelled of fresh paint over old wood. By noon we moved to the backyard, 4 motion sensor floods along the shared fence line. I set up the ladder near the low wooden divider, climbed up, and started running conduit. The sun was warm air, crisp with early fall. I was stripping wire when the sliding door next door opened. She stepped out onto her deck. Dark hair loose around her shoulders, gray hoodie coffee mug cradled in both hands. 34 years old, but she carried herself with the quiet weight of someone who'd already lived through more than most. Beautiful, guarded. Jake waved enthusiastically. "Laura, this is Ethan, my electrician, my brother from another mother. Ethan, meet Laura Ellis. Best neighbor on the block." I turned on the ladder, wiped my hands on my jeans, and smiled. "Nice to meet you, Laura." Our eyes met. Her mug trembled just enough to slosh coffee over the rim. Her gaze dropped immediately to the left side of my face, to the scar. Recognition hit her like a physical blow. Her lips parted slightly, eyes widened then narrowed. The polite smile vanished, replaced by something raw pain, anger, betrayal. She stared for 3 full seconds. No words. Then she spun on her heel and walked back inside. The sliding door closed with a firm, decisive click. I stayed frozen on the ladder wire cutters dangling from my fingers. Jake kept talking about sensor angles, completely unaware anything had changed. But I felt it in my gut. That wasn't shyness, that wasn't a bad day, that was hate, and it had my scar written all over it. The silence that followed Laura's retreat into her house lingered like smoke. I stayed on the ladder a moment longer, wire cutters still in hand, trying to make sense of the look she'd given me. Not annoyance, not curiosity. It was something deeper. Something that made the air between our yards feel charged and heavy. Jake finally noticed my stillness. "You okay, man?" She seemed off. I forced a shrug. "Yeah, probably just a bad day, but I knew better." That reaction hadn't been random. It had been personal, directed at me, at my scar. I finished the motion lights that afternoon, tested them bright beams cutting across the grass in clean arcs. Jake cracked open beers on his deck talking about the Seahawks game that weekend. I nodded along, smiled when I was supposed to, but my mind kept drifting next door. To the woman who'd looked at me like I'd betrayed her. That night back in my apartment downtown, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch with my laptop staring at the search bar. I typed Laura Ellis Portland first. A few LinkedIn profiles, a Facebook page set to private, an old real estate listing for the house next to Jake's. Nothing useful. Then I typed Nathan Ellis Sacramento. Nothing. Changed it to Nathan Pierce Portland divorce. A court filing from 18 months ago appeared divorce decree, no fault, irreconcilable differences. No public details, no mention of affairs or photos. I closed the laptop, rubbed the scar on my cheek absently. It was just a thin line now faded from years of sun and time. But tonight it felt fresh, exposed. The next weekend, Jake texted again. More small jobs, basement lights flickering a breaker that tripped every time the microwave ran. I showed up Sunday morning, tools in hand. We worked inside first. Around noon, I moved to the backyard to double-check the motion sensors after a recent rain. I was kneeling near the fence, wiping moisture from the lenses when her sliding door opened again. Laura stepped out. She carried pruning shears this time, headed toward a rose bush near the fence line. She saw me immediately. Her shoulders stiffened. She clipped one dead bloom quick sharp, then another, but she didn't retreat inside like before. I stood slowly, wiped my hands on my jeans. "Laura," I said quietly, "if I'm making you uncomfortable, I can work on the other side of the house." She paused, shears mid-cut. Looked at me, really looked at it. Her eyes flicked to the scar again, then back to my face. "It's not you being here," she said. Her voice was low, controlled. "It's the reminder." I waited. She set the shears down on the railing, crossed her arms. "My ex-husband had a scar just like that," she continued. "Same place, same shape. He got it in a car accident before we met. I used to trace it with my finger when we were happy, before everything fell apart." I swallowed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," she said. "It's not your fault you have it. But every time I see it, I remember the nights he came home late. The excuses. The photos I found on his phone, blurry shots from a bar, a young guy with a scar laughing like they shared a secret. He said it was a co-worker, work drinks. I believed him. Until I didn't." Her voice cracked on the last word. She looked away toward the roses. "I thought you were him," she said softly. "The other man. The one who knew about the affair, the one who helped him hide it." "I'm not," I said. "I worked with Nathan. That's all." He was quiet. Kept to himself. Never mentioned a wife. Never mentioned anyone. The night he left, he called me at midnight. Said he had a new job in Seattle. Needed a ride to the bus station. I gave it to him. Never saw him again. Never knew about any affair. Never knew about you. She studied me for a long moment. "I want to believe that," she said finally. "I really do. But the scar, it's the same. And the timing. He disappeared right after those photos. Right after I confronted him." I nodded slowly. "I get why it hurts to see me, but I swear on everything I had no idea what he was doing. When the company started investigating missing money, they questioned everyone. I told them the truth. He asked for a ride, I gave it. They cleared me. But the rumors stuck anyway. I lost clients, lost the job, came back to Portland to start over." She exhaled through her nose. "I lost the marriage, the trust, almost lost the house. I fought to keep it, alone." Silence settled between us. Not tense, just present. I'm sorry he hurt you, I said. I'm sorry I remind you of him. She looked at me again longer this time, softer. You don't, she said quietly. Not really. You're kinder, younger, you look at me like you see me, not like a problem to solve or hide. My chest tightened. I do see you, I said. She gave a small, sad smile. First one I'd seen from her, I know, she whispered. Then she picked up the shears. Thank you. For explaining. She turned and went back inside. Door slid shut gently. I stood by the fence a long time, pruning shears echoing in my head. That afternoon, Jake noticed something different. She talked to you, he asked when I came inside. Yeah, I said. A little. He grinned. Progress. She's been closed off since the divorce. Good for her. Good for you. I didn't answer. But inside something had shifted. Not love, not yet, but curiosity. And a quiet hope that maybe the scar didn't have to mean pain forever. The following week, I found myself driving past her house more often. Not stalking, just checking. Lights on in the kitchen. Silhouette moving behind curtains. I wondered what she was doing. Reading Cooking Alone. Thinking about the conversation at the fence. I didn't text her, didn't knock, but I thought about her a lot, and I had a feeling she thought about me too. Fan bon su that titlo mangintam trum to. The weeks after that evening on Laura's deck felt like walking a tightrope. Every interaction carried weight now, every glance, every casual word, every accidental brush of fingers. We weren't dating, we weren't even admitting what was happening, but something was happening. I started finding excuses to be at Jake's more often. A loose switch plate here, a flickering porch light there. Jake noticed. He teased me once. You're fixing things that aren't broken, man, but he never pushed. He just smiled like he knew. Laura did the same. She'd text me now short messages at first, kitchen outlets sparking again. Can you look when you're next door? I'd reply. On my way. I'd walk over. She'd open the door in jeans and a soft sweater, hair loose, smelling faintly of lavender and coffee. We'd talk while I worked about nothing important at first. The weather, a book she was reading, a song on the radio she liked, then slowly deeper things. One afternoon while I was replacing a faulty GFCI outlet in her kitchen, she leaned against the counter watching me. You ever think about what you'd do if you hadn't come back to Portland? She asked. I twisted the last wire nut. I don't know, maybe stayed in Sacramento, kept fixing houses, maybe dated someone my age, someone uncomplicated. She smiled faintly. Sounds nice. It does, I said. But I'd be bored. And lonely. I like complicated. I like real. She looked down at her hands. I'm complicated. Very. I know, I said. I like that about you. She met my eyes. Something flickered there, fear, hope, desire all at once. I finished the outlet, tested it, lights on, steady. She handed me a glass of water. Our fingers touched. Neither of us pulled away immediately. Thank you, she said softly. For the outlet I asked. For everything. We stood in her kitchen, sunlight slanting through the window, dust motes dancing in the beam between us. I still see the scar sometimes, she admitted, and for a second I remember him. But then I see you, and it fades. I set the glass down, stepped closer, not touching, just closer. I don't want to be a reminder, I said. I want to be... She nodded slowly. You already are. That evening she invited me to stay for dinner. Nothing fancy, she said. Just pasta. I made too much again. I stayed. We ate at her small kitchen table. Candles lit, not romantic, just soft light. Wine poured, not too much. Conversation flowed. She told me about the early days with Nathan, how charming he was. How he made her laugh, how she ignored the red flags because she wanted to believe in forever. I told her about Sacramento, the long hours, the isolation the night Nathan called. How I felt guilty afterward, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. I keep thinking she said twirling pasta on her fork if I'd seen the photos clearer. If I'd trusted my gut sooner, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much time. You didn't lose time, I said. You survived it. That's not losing. She looked at me, eyes shining. You make it sound simple. It's not, I said. But you're not alone in it anymore. She reached across the table. Her hand covered mine. We stayed like that a long time. No words, just hands touching, hearts racing. After dinner, we cleaned up side by side, shoulders brushing, laughter when soap suds flew, quiet when our eyes met too long. At the door, she paused. I'm scared, she said again. I know, I replied. I am too. She leaned in, forehead against mine. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Laura. I walked home under the stars, heart full, mind racing, and then The next week she called me over to look at her garage light. It wasn't broken. We both knew it. We ended up sitting on her garage steps talking until dark. She told me about the divorce, the court dates, the night she cried alone, the day she finally signed the papers and felt free. And terrified. I told her about my own fears, being too young for her, not enough experience, not enough to offer someone who'd already lived so much. You offer kindness, she said. You offer patience. You offer you. That's more than enough. I looked at her. I think I'm falling for you, I said quietly. The words came out before I could stop them. She didn't flinch, just looked back. I think I've been falling since the day you fixed my car, she whispered, and it terrifies me. We sat in silence, hands linked now, fingers intertwined. I'm 34, she said. You're 27. 7 years. It feels like a lifetime. It's just time, I said. Not a wall. She squeezed my hand. I want to believe that. Then believe it, I said. We didn't kiss that night either, but when I left she walked me to the fence, hugged me brief tight, full of everything unsaid. I hugged back, felt her heartbeat against mine. The next evening she texted, "Come over, I have something to show you." I went. She led me to her living room, laptop open on the coffee table. I found the original photo, she said. From Nathan's cloud backup. I enhanced it. Look, she clicked. The image filled the screen, dim bar lighting, 2 men laughing, one older Nathan, the other younger Scar visible. But now clear different jawline, different eyes, different hairline. Not me, she looked at me, tears in her eyes. It wasn't you, she said. I was wrong, completely wrong. I exhaled. Relief flooded me. I knew it wasn't, I said, but I'm glad you see it now. She closed the laptop, turned to me. I've spent months hating a ghost, she said, and punishing you for it. I'm so sorry. I took her hands. You were hurt, I said. You were protecting yourself. I understand. She stepped closer, arms around my neck. I don't want to protect myself anymore, she whispered. Not from you. I wrapped my arms around her waist. Then don't. We stood like that, foreheads touching, breathing the same air. She pulled back slightly, looked into my eyes. I'm still scared, she said. The age thing, the baggage, everything. I know, I said. But we can be scared together. She smiled small, real beautiful. I'd like that. We didn't rush, didn't kiss yet. But that night we sat on her couch, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her, talking until late. About futures, about fears, about possibilities. And for the first time, the scar on my cheek didn't feel like a reminder of pain. It felt like the beginning of something new. The nights after that evening in Laura's living room blurred into a quiet rhythm neither of us named. We didn't call it dating. We didn't label anything. But we spent time together, slow, deliberate, like two people learning to breathe the same air without suffocating. She'd text me in the evenings, lights on in the kitchen, coffee if you're free. I'd walk over. We'd sit at her table or on the couch, talk for hours. Sometimes about small things, her favorite childhood book, my worst job site story. Sometimes deeper, how she still woke up some mornings reaching for a side of the bed that had been empty for 2 years. How I still felt like an intruder in my own life after Sacramento. One evening she opened a bottle of red wine she'd been saving. We sat on her back deck, wrapped in the same blanket against the November chill. Stars scattered above like spilled salt. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, she said quietly. For you to realize I'm too old, too damaged, for me to push you away because I'm scared. I set my glass down, turned to her. I'm waiting for the same thing I admitted, for you to decide 7 years is too much, for me to be too young, too naive, too... Not enough. She looked at me, really looked. The scar on my cheek caught the porch light. She reached up, traced it gently with her fingertip. No hesitation this time. This used to hurt me, she whispered. Now it just feels like part of you. I covered her hand with mine, held it there. You're not too old, I said. You're exactly who you are. Experienced, strong, beautiful, and I'm not too young. I'm just here for you. Her eyes glistened. Not tears, just emotion rising to the surface. I have spent so long protecting myself, she said. Building walls, telling myself no one would want the mess, and then you show up. Patient. Kind, looking at me like I'm not broken. You're not broken, I said. You're healing. And I want to be part of that. She exhaled slowly, leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that a long time. Wind rustling leaves, distant traffic hum, her breathing steady against my chest. After a while she lifted her head. I think about you all the time, she said. When I wake up, when I garden, when I'm alone in this house. I think, what if I let him in? What if I stop being afraid? I turned to face her fully. I think about you too, I said. Every day, every job site, every quiet moment. I think she's worth the risk. She's worth everything. Her breath caught. I'm falling in love with you, Ethan, she whispered. The words came out soft, almost surprised, like she hadn't planned to say them yet. My heart stuttered. I'm already in love with you, I said. I think I have been since the day you left me soup. Or maybe before. Maybe since the first time you looked at me and didn't run. She laughed, small, watery. Tears slipped down her cheeks now. I'm 34, she said again, like a reminder to herself. Divorced. A house full of memories. You deserve someone fresh, someone without history. I cupped her face gently, thumb brushing away a tear. I don't want fresh, I said. I want real. I want you, history and all. She searched my eyes. And the age, she asked. People will talk, friends, family. They'll say you're too young. I'm robbing you of your 20s. Let them talk, I said. My 20s were lonely. My 30s will be better with you. She closed her eyes, leaned into my touch. I don't know how to do this, she said again, but I want to try. Then try, I said. We'll go slow as you need. She opened her eyes, looked at me with something new, hope, raw and bright. Okay, she whispered. We sat there another hour, talking, not talking, just being, her hand in mine, head on my shoulder, the blanket around us both. When the cold finally drove us in, she walked me to the door. At the threshold, she stopped. I'm not ready for everything yet, she said, but I'm ready for more. I nodded. More is enough, I said. She rose on her toes, pressed a soft kiss to my cheek right over the scar. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Laura. I walked home under the stars, heart pounding, mind clear. We were in love. We both knew it now, but we weren't rushing. The next morning, she texted coffee on my deck, 10 a.m. I replied, I'll be there. I arrived with fresh pastries from the bakery down the street. She opened the door in a soft sweater and Jean's hair still damp from the shower. We sat outside, coffee steaming, pastries crumbling between us. She looked at me over her mug. I dreamed about you last night, she said. We were walking, holding hands, no fences, no scars, just us. I smiled. I dreamed the same thing, I said. She reached across the table, took my hand. I'm still scared, she admitted, but the fear feels smaller now. Good, I said, 'cause I'm not going anywhere. She squeezed my hand. Neither am I. We sat in the morning light, hands linked, hearts open, no big declarations, no rushing to labels, just two people 7 years apart, lifetimes of hurt behind them choosing each other, one small step at a time. The gate between our yards stood open now, and for the first time neither of us felt the need to close it. But as the sun climbed higher, she looked at me with a small, uncertain smile. What happens next, she asked. I shrugged lightly. We keep going, I said. Coffee dates, walks, late-night talks, whatever feels right. She nodded. And if it gets hard, then we face it together. She leaned in, pressed her forehead to mine. Together, she echoed. We stayed like that a long time. The future stretched ahead, uncertain, complicated, beautiful. We didn't know every answer. We didn't need to. We just knew we wanted to find them, side by side.